Welcome to this week's episode of the Full Scope Cybercast, Safeguarding the Digital Frontier. I'm your host, Matt Van Pelt, and with me today, our Full Scope IT's CTO, Dan Welk. How are you, Dan?
Pretty good. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great. Also, we have Brian Amadeo from Business Development. How are you today, Brian?
Doing well, Matt. Sound like you're a little stuffy there. What's going on?
Seasonal, allergy season. It's the good stuff, And exciting news, new to the podcast, Matthew Kelly, a member of the Full Scope IT technical team. Welcome, Matthew.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. Good to see everybody today. So we're going to do things a little differently this week. We're going to forego our buzzword, and we're going to hop right into a discussion about cybersecurity tips for business on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Today's episode is inspired by the upcoming holidays, where there's an upward trend in spending due to the days following Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. According to an online article, these two popular shopping days had a spending amount of $20.42 billion by consumers in 2022. The digital rush of Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales is a veritable feast for cybercriminals. It's a period when the human element, the most unpredictable factor in cybersecurity, become the Achilles heel for businesses. Employees swept up in the holiday spirit may lower their digital defenses and use company devices for personal shopping, inadvertently exposing your business to cyber threats. But when the line between professional diligence and personal convenience blurs, the door to malicious exploits opens. So, what are some ways businesses can protect themselves during the holiday shopping season? Not everybody all at once.
Stop shopping. Just don't shop.
Don't shop.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah, lock the doors, go home for the day.
Yeah, just close.
A lot of the things that people need to do are the same things they need to do every day, but you've got to understand that our defenses are down when we're busy. There can be a lot of customers, a lot of phone calls coming in. It's easy to get distracted. So you just need to really try to keep some focus on your regular security hygiene. So, I think phishing attacks are still very, very high. There's a lot of news about smishing and quishing and a lot of other, quishing's QR code phishing attacks where
thank you.
People are putting stickers over, like you go to a restaurant and they have a QR code for a menu. They'll put a sticker over the menu QR code with a link to malware.
It is.
And I think these make really good articles, but I think that that really anything that requires the bad actors to go on site and do something devious, that's not where the heavy hitters are. They're still going to be doing traditional phishing attacks where they're using the internet and they can hide behind long distances by doing the attacks. I think it's a good idea to try to remember that if you didn't ask for somebody to email you a link or SMS you a link, maybe you really need to look at that link a little more carefully and make sure it really goes to where you think it's supposed to go, and maybe open your browser and type in the name of the company that you're trying to go to and not trust the email link so much.
That's a good point.
And it's always good to have email security in place ahead of time. There's systems out there that will strip all the links out of your email and put in like a security redirector so that if they find out later on that those links do go to malware of some sort, they can take those links down, even though the mail is already in your inbox.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I say a lot too. It's like, hacking is hard, tricking people is super easy. So a lot of businesses, they're worried about super sophisticated attacks coming in and doing all this crazy hacker stuff that you see people with like hoods on, on TV, and they're just like typing some code or something. Yeah, most of this is just phishing. So a lot of it is just emails. I've had my friends were saying like, oh my god, I've never received so many text messages that I have in the past like 3 days than I have in the past year, because everything's kicking off for Black Friday. And it's one of those things, like that's why people get emails, text messages. Like they do these low skill attacks because even if it's like, 0.01% effective. I mean, if you take the population that they probably put this against, hundreds of thousands, if not, if they're sending millions of these things, 0.01% is a huge number. So that's why they do it, is because they are successful. So a lot of this is, like Dan said, just verify, who's sending you an email. Sometimes it could be Amazon with, instead of an O, in Amazon.com, it's a 0. And that's the domain name. And, there's a lot of very simple tricks that get people like a decent amount of the time where, it's still a viable attack method.
It's always the human element.
Always,
You are the weakest link.
They're
Yes,
the bad guys are taking advantage of us having human nature, because we are all human, and you shouldn't take it personally. Doesn't make you any smarter or less smart that you're being attacked. They're just going after everybody, seeing what happens.
it's a numbers game.
I know personally, one thing I do is, even if I get an email from PayPal saying, "Oh, your monthly statement is here. Click here to look at it." I will, if I want to see it, I go to my web browser and type in PayPal.com and log in that way.
I did
won't
same,
even click
yeah.
the link. No matter, even if I know it's real, I just don't do it.
Good habit.
I think I had a prospect that I was talking to a while ago, as a chiropractor, and we're talking about cyber security and stuff. And he was telling me a story. He's like, I never believed in any of this stuff. Like, I thought I was good. I thought, no problem on any of this. And he's like, one random Friday, it's like I was late from picking up my kid at soccer or something, and I was waiting on a FedEx package. So all of a sudden that Friday, I get an email from FedEx saying, click here to see the status of your package. So, he clicks there, and then there's a download that he has to do to download, of this file that'll tell him the status, and boom, ransomware. So it's one of those things, like I said, it's just a numbers game. And sometimes it's like you do get that 0.01% chance of like the right place, the right time for that person to be, not expecting something, but, obviously not from a malicious source where they're just like, all right, I'm just in a rush. I'm going to open it. I want to go home. I got to do this thing. And then bam, it's like, business is in trouble after that.
Yeah, I get multiple texts saying, "Oh, you have to click here because we have a package that you're going to lose. It's sitting at the U.S. Postal Service." And I'm like, and every time I'm like, "Do I?" And I'm like, "No, no, this isn't real. I do not have a package waiting for me at the Postal Service. And if I do, they can have it because I don't know what it is."
Yeah, the interesting thing is the email is protected to a very, very high level, because the services that are available to filter your email or scan your email are growing day by day by day. But when you're getting an SMS, the phone company and Google or Apple have some protections in place, but they're the only ones who are holding that line. So I get those as well. And it's always shocking because our email is so well protected, and I don't see the phishing scam messages with the poor grammar, which is getting better and better every day.
Thanks,
But then
ChatGPT.
yeah, but then the SMSs come in, and I haven't yet seen a QR code phishing scam yet, but I'm sure they are out there.
No, actually, a friend of mine
Not,
sent
we
me.
just educated a bunch of cyber criminals, so we'll start seeing that more and more.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're smart enough without us helping them.
yeah, a friend of mine actually sent me a link warning me about one, just from that comes from the government, and they said, "No, don't use the QR code because it's not us." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." And it's something legit where it says you have to verify your business for the federal government, and yeah, they're like, "No, let me see if I can find it real quick." And yeah, what is it?
Just put your EIN in, no problem.
Yeah, yeah, finsend.gov, financial something or other. I don't know what that means. It's It's beneficial ownership information reporting, which is something you have to do, but not with this thing
But
that they're
not that
sending
way.
with the QR code. They're like, we will never ever send you a QR code.
I was thinking about doing that. I was thinking about just for kicks, like setting up a QR code like in a grocery store next to the bananas, and I'll say something about the bananas, like 2-for-1 sale, like scan this QR code for a coupon. And I was just curious of like if I bet you the employees would not even know. Maybe a manager, but I was gonna leave it there and just see how many
Yeah, but
people
how
like
long
actually
until
click
someone,
it.
someone actually
Yeah,
knows?
Maybe we
I
should,
was like super interested.
maybe we
Not
should offer
malicious. I
that
just
as
want to see how many people.
let's offer that as a service along with the phishing testing that we do for customers.
Banana coupons or the QR
Yeah.
thing?
Well, yeah, we'll go
Both.
into their office and we'll just sneak some QR codes around the place and see who fills something out.
I mean, it is tempting. I mean, we just got a new water cooler and there's a QR code on the side of it, and I couldn't help myself but use the QR
Like,
code.
I have to do
Luckily,
this.
it was just trying to sell me
Credit
a
card
water
information
cooler,
gone.
but I was like, oh, that's weird. Why would you want to sell me a water cooler I already have? I don't get it, but
Yeah, because it was really Matt Kelly who snuck in and put a sticker on there while you weren't looking.
You're right.
Yeah.
Was it you?
It's all
'Cause
part
it
of
is right
my,
outside my
my
office
grand
door.
Yeah.
And pointing right at me as soon as I walk out.
Want to know what's in your water? Scan here.
Oh, gross. No, I don't.
I was just talking to a customer the other day, and they were we're talking something about USB security, since a lot of people, they have their a USB stick, and they'll take, this is terrible, but they'll take work documents home on like a USB stick. So, and I was telling them, we should block that. We should block any, USB sticks that we don't know. And I was telling her about that attack vector where people just take USB drives, put ransomware on it, put some kind of like very malicious executable file on it, and they'll just throw it in a parking lot. And then I think her cubicle mate was listening to me, and she comes over and she's like, "It's funny you said that. My husband literally did that last month, where he was going grocery shopping, found a USB stick, and then brought it in and just plugged it into their personal laptop." And I was like, "It does happen."
Wow.
That one's scary.
All right.
At least it was personal.
Yeah.
Better than his
right.
organization.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, if it isn't a tech tip.
So for this week's tech tips, how to protect your business during the holiday season. Tip number 1, look for telltale signs of phishing. Tip number 2, educate against malware and ransomware. Tip number 3, monitor transactions for unusual activity. Tip number 4, implement multi-factor authentication. Tip number 5, conduct proactive security testing. Tip number 6, encrypt data across all company devices. Tip number 7, partner with a cybersecurity expert. To educate yourself on protecting you and your business this busy holiday season, read further in our blog post, Cybersecurity Tips for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. The link to it is in this week's episode description, and you can also find it under the blog section on our website, fullscopeit.com.
I would put MFA like number 1 on that list, but
I was gonna say, yeah.
I feel like we're like always beating people up about it, but that's really that closes the door on a lot of problems that all those other things can be protected by.
So the other one, as far as encrypting, how many, like when we're say working with a new client, how many times are they already doing something like that? I know MFA we try to bring in a lot, but encryption.
I mean, the onboardings that I do, I would say the amount of clients that we onboard that have encryption, say BitLocker or Microsoft's encryption method that comes with Windows, the amount of percentage that's already on, I'd say less than 10%.
Oh, it is that low. Okay.
From what I run into. I've seen companies that have to be HIPAA compliant, so that definitely has to be encrypted. Encryption nowhere. It's very, very high up there, and especially for compliancy. And it's so easy to turn on too.
Right. Well, I mean that and MFA, right? MFA, as you said, Dan, is like literally the one thing that if everybody did, it would be a tremendous effect as a whole. And and even if they're doing it like the not so good ways, like through it SMS as opposed to like a app or something that's a little more secure, even within the MFA world, right? There's some hierarchy there as far as ways it can be done. Even if it's the worst way, it still would be a tremendous difference, right?
If it's offered, you should turn it on.
Everybody's so
There you
annoyed
go.
by it.
You heard it here first.
And I can say that I was at first, right? When it first started to happen, I'm like, but it just seems like second nature at this point.
I am overrun with MFA tokens, and I am happy to see more and more companies that are going to passkeys. Microsoft and Google really pushed hard on it. Google turned on passkeys for everybody. And Amazon has just recently jumped on board. And I think you're going to see that really grow, where you can have a single token, which could be your phone or a USB stick or even your laptop. That is your MFA token, and it follows you around as a single device rather than having to have this huge list of TOTP tokens that you have to scroll through to find what you're looking for. Apple's been doing a really good job with it lately, where they actually put your passkey secrets into your iCloud keychain. So you can actually move it from device to device without much trouble.
How does that affect or change the actual mechanics of what that means to the user, to the person that has to, in lieu of doing XYZ, now this is what their experience is like?
The problem with it is it's got a lot of different ways that it can work, which can make it seem confusing, but you never have to type in a code. That's really the big thing. So you either have to be signing in from a device that has the passkeys. So your laptop or your phone has it built in, and then it will just pop up something saying, we need to access your passkey. There's also a method where the browser can show a QR code if your passkey is on a phone, and then you take a picture of the QR code with your phone, and it
the phone
authenticates through the internet.
Okay.
But it's a lot easier than having to remember a 6-digit number. I feel like I can judge how tired I am by how many of the numbers I can remember before I have to look at the token again.
The token
to
again.
Get the last numbers. Yeah. If I've had a good strong cup of coffee, I can just plow through all 6 numbers. But near the end of the day, I got to do it like 2 or 3 numbers at a time.
And then there's just the approve or deny, right? Then there's just it's not even a code based version as well.
Yeah, the passkeys,
push notifications.
There's codes. Don't get me wrong. There is a lot of math that goes into this. It's just you don't ever have to see these numbers. It's not getting boiled down to 6 digits or 4 digits. It's you are allowing your device to authenticate the connection. And the other advantage to passkeys is that they block man-in-the-middle attacks, because only sites that you have added to your passkey are allowed to ask you to authenticate. So if somebody is doing a man-in-the-middle attack and they have a proxy set up and they're trying to decrypt and re-encrypt, they won't be able to do that with the passkey, because they would change the code, and your device would say, I don't know this website. So it's actually better than when you have to put in the 6-digit codes, because a malicious website could ask you to type in the 6-digit codes and your password together, and then you've given them everything that they need to log in as you for the next 30 seconds. And passkeys will never do that.
All right. Brings us to this week's Story of the Week.
This is the story of the week.
Listen up!
Brought to us by bestlifeonline.com. We got some Black Friday horror stories. So, any of these stories stand out to everybody? There's pretty funny ones on it. I can't believe how people act in the real world.
Yeah.
I could say myself, I have never once in my life gone shopping on Black Friday. Never, ever, ever.
I've
So
never
I
waited
have
in
no
a line.
stories myself.
Yeah.
I don't think I have either.
No?
No.
Wow,
I
we're
think
just a bunch of
once
non-shoppers.
I think I've gone the day of, but I haven't waited in line at like
Right.
5
Yeah. I
a.m. or
was never
anything.
there at like 4 a.m. waiting for a 10 a.m. store open to
I've never
get one of the
gone.
5 TVs.
I'm
or
much
something.
happier with Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to stay home. Don't put pants
This
on.
might be a
Just gonna
biased
Yeah.
crowd.
out.
This might just not
it
be
is.
a crowd that.
I know. I guess we got to stick to the
That's
stories
cool.
that are in the
Probably is.
article.
Yeah. I've
I mean, I
paid
think
for concert tickets.
all of us here are old enough to remember the Tickle Me Elmo and Furby fiascos, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I mean, I was
could
too
even-
old for the toys, but I remember them. I remember it going
Yeah,
on.
childhood wise, I can go back to remember seeing parents freaking out over like Cabbage Patch, and some of the
Yeah, I
other.
was surprised Cabbage Patch Kids were not mentioned in this article.
I guess it depends on the age
Yeah,
of the
because
person
that
who wrote
was
it.
right. That's what I was thinking. Too. Yep.
Yeah, because I was young when the Cabbage Patch one happened, but I don't know. Listen, my parents weren't the kind that were going to go crazy to get a toy anyway. So
I got a good one. So this actually happened to me. So it was, man, it had to be in the early 2000s. So, YouTube didn't really exist. There's no streaming yet. Everything was on, I don't even know if it was probably DVD at that time. Everything was on DVD. So I remember it was near Black Friday and I got a call. And do you remember those I don't know if they were like VHS or DVDs they used to sell about just like people fighting, like neighbor fights, and it would just be
bum
neighbors
fights?
fighting and
Remember
bum fights, all those.
Yeah.
I remember being called like randomly by some woman that was like offering me all this like the season 1, season 2, and I think at the time I was like in my early 20s, and I'm just like, all right, cool, yeah, these are awesome. Like there's no other way to view them, right? There's no streaming, no YouTube. So I was like, yeah, this is the only way I can see these. So she's like, yeah, just give me the credit card number and the address, and I was like, yeah, this is great, just send them to me. So it turns out it was a complete scam, and
No way.
so a couple days later, I see like some Western Union transaction on my bank, on my credit card, taking out like $300 or something. It's one of those ones where they take out $1, they see that it works, and then they take out like 300. Luckily, back then, still like the bank gave me all my money back, but I think that was the first and last time I ever got scammed and or trusted anyone that called me for anything.
Yeah.
Luckily, it wasn't
I
worse.
struggle with the phone calls too. Like there's some what you hope are organizations you would like to support, and you're like, man, I can't do it this way.
Yeah, when I get people calling me asking to donate, and I want to do what I can to help, but I always ask them to tell me what their website is, and I'll do the donation on their website so I can make sure it's legitimate. And if they keep pushing, it makes me think there's something wrong.
What's your favorite story, Brian?
Off of this list, I don't really have too many of the personal ones because, like I said, I didn't engage in Black Friday deals, but there's some gems in here. This is hard to choose a favorite, and I think like favorite's an interesting way to say it because I mean, the kid going to the bathroom on the floor in the middle of a GameStop is hilarious and horrendous all in the same time. So it's I don't want to say I love that. But the Furby one is the one that stuck out to me, and it was just that it was just from the parental standpoint of knowing what it's like to make sure your child is not disappointed on this one day that like that was the one that I think hit me the most just because I identified with the like trying to make sure I had happy children.
But then you had the anti-Furby people that would just buy all the Furbies to just publicly
Just
destroy
to
them
monopolize
and just
them.
troll everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the other fun side of that.
And what was the stuffed animals? The little Beanie Babies. That was the other big one that kind of a thing happened,
right.
But
Was that a Christmas time thing?
I don't think it was actually, right?
No, that was just an all-time thing.
Yeah.
I watched that movie they made about that whole
did
thing.
too.
It was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a South Park one of that, or was it The Simpsons or something, where some guy invested his entire retirement into Beanie Babies, and then like he goes to retire, and his wife's like yelling at him, like, "I told you this was terrible."
Man,
So,
But
but
they don't retain their value.
I'm still trying to picture the guy army crawling with a microwave.
yeah, with a microwave. Did it say how big the microwave was in that article?
Let's hope it was a small tabletop. But yeah, but yeah. This is a
Guy
good
who
article
army
for
crawled
just
his
some
way
laughs.
to a microwave.
Yeah. I don't like going to the store on a good day, so none of those stories really make me want to participate. And I feel a lot less embarrassed about like letting my kids pee behind a tree at the edge of a park after reading that.
Yeah, it doesn't help with the perception of humanity reading some of these.
Do you think has it gone? You think it's gone down in past years when you throw in all the online shopping, Cyber Monday, everything? People that don't have to do this anymore. You think it's helped at all? And especially the pandemic, did the crowd thin out after that? It's like it's got to be better.
It's a good question.
Because none of these seem like they're very recent. I mean, they don't really have dates on them, but when you're talking about microwaves and Furbies and Tickle Me Elmos,
Like the one where the guy, they'll talk about going back to the QR code where he put like he taped on a different UPC. Like that seems super plausible. Like I'm surprised that's not happening constantly, Black Friday or otherwise.
you never switched the price tag in a store before, Brian?
Not
I'm not saying that I have.
probably-
I'm not saying that I have.
They were probably counting on it being so busy that the
Right.
people working just want to get all the products out and the sale done so they can help the next person in line.
It's like live fishing.
Yeah, and I think over time, and I forgot, Dan, if you and I were having this conversation, I had it with somebody else. But so over time, since everything has been moving online and less in-store doorbuster kind of deals, I think a lot of that is due to a lot of companies have been changing their practices, like as far as instead of this TV is 60% off if you're here at 4 a.m. It's like, okay, if you get there at 4 a.m. it'll be 60% off, but if you wait 2 hours and buy it online, it'll be 40% off. So they try to kind of mitigate it by that, but at the same time, with now that increases the online purchasing, which now we're back in the conversation of cybersecurity and how can we trick people?
No,
out of
that
stuff,
I've
so.
seen driving traffic to
Yeah.
to e-commerce as opposed to foot traffic.
I know a lot of
I think
people. It's part
some
of their
that's
holiday
tests.
tradition to go crazy the day after Thanksgiving. It's
A lot of people I know
it's
say
a
that same thing,
tradition.
like, oh, it's a tradition. Me and my mom go, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now
I try
they're-
to nap even longer.
Then they were. I mean, there was. I don't know if they still do it, but I remember a few years ago it was like it started like the evening of Thanksgiving. They were starting to do stuff.
Yeah.
People all full of turkey and whatnot, flying out.
Well,
Until I
that was
got the
remember
backlash.
remember the first one? It was midnight, right? 12:01. It's Black Friday. The first time it was like, say, I'm just gonna blame Walmart because it might have been.
Say, I'm glad I've never worked in.
disclosure.
Has anybody here
literally,
worked?
3 people died that day
Yeah.
trying to get discounted TVs. Yeah.
from
Has
getting
anybody here
trampled.
ever worked retail on Black Friday?
Yes.
You did.
No.
I haven't. Oh, Brian, please explain.
Yeah. Yeah.
was that second one?
I'm trying to actually.
Oh,
think
it sounds
of
like you
any-
have some
any-
PTSD there. Look at you. Oh my goodness. Was it that bad?
Yeah.
Are you getting flustered? Blushing?
So no, I was trying to think if there's any actual good like stories from it, and I don't think that I have anything. And as boring as it is, like one of my retail experiences was like Office Depot, and I was like the business machine guy that told people buy their hardware, and so it wasn't exactly a bum rush for Black Friday. They were hoping people were going to show up, not have a line outside the front door. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I worked in a retail environment that was, like say Target, Walmart. I don't know that I did. Yeah.
So you didn't have
no fun stories. Sorry, I don't have a
like
horror
the-
story.
You don't have the
Yeah.
the label maker
Other than
feud to end all feuds like
super-
in the article.
Yeah, right. Yeah, other than just a really long day and you're burned out and all the prep for it and just the extra hours. That's all I remember is it seemed like a long work week more than some crazy day.
All right. So that's for all you listeners out there. If you want to get easy Christmas presents on Black Friday, just go to Office Depot. There's nobody else
Yeah.
there.
Are they still
You
open?
get an office chair, and you get an office chair, and you get a stapler.
Wait, are they open? Office Maxes, right? Is Office Depot?
Is Office Depot
remember
still
who
around?
bought whom.
That's a good
I don't
question.
know.
I don't know. All right. Anything else for this, or we want to
Now
wrap
I
it
want
up?
a new office chair.
I think they're online only, actually.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. Smarten up. Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of the Full Scope Cybercast, Safeguarding the Digital Frontier. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode, so until then, stay behind your firewall.